The latest rumors surrounding Dalton Connect are starting to stir up a mix of disbelief and frustration, especially among Lakers fans trying to make sense of how things have unraveled so quickly. Reports suggesting that Connect now has negative trade value, that the Lakers would need to attach an asset just to move off of him. Honestly, that feels like a massive exaggeration. Look, no one's pretending that he's at the peak of his value right now, or that you get back the same buzz he generated a few months ago when he was lighting up the scoreboard with 30-point games. But to act like he's become a liability on the trade market, that's just wild. We're still talking about a young player in only his second year who has proven himself as a legit shooter. Context matters, and it's hard to imagine that a player with his profile has zero value. Let's be real. If Dalton Connect were a free agent today, there would be teams falling over themselves to bring him in. Maybe not contenders, but younger or rebuilding franchises absolutely would see him as a low-risk, high-upside guy. And that's the key. It's not like Connect is taking up $20 million in cap space or is some aging veteran past his prime. He's a cost-controlled, offensively gifted wing who, despite defensive flaws, has shown he can score at an elite level when he's hot. Of course, no one is lining up to do the Lakers any favors, especially after the amount of leverage this franchise historically tends to have. But that doesn't mean Connect's value has plummeted into negative territory. What's really going on here seems to be a classic case of bad optics combined with a shaky fit. Connect isn't thriving in the Lakers' current situation, and to be honest, it looks like he's mentally checked out. You can see it in his body language, in the way he moves on the court, even in his defensive effort, or lack thereof. It's like the spark that made him such an exciting pickup early on has fizzled out completely. And part of that comes down to how the Lakers have handled his development. It's hard to watch a young player be demoralized by inconsistent minutes, changing expectations, and the looming knowledge that any stretch of good games could just be raising his trade stock for an inevitable move. And here's the catch. Dalton knows that. The moment he starts cooking again, the Lakers are probably going to flip him. So why would he lock in when he knows he's not part of the long-term plan? This isn't just speculation. It's the natural emotional response to being dangled like trade bait. And yet, that doesn't mean he's broken beyond repair. It just means the fit is wrong, and maybe a fresh start somewhere else is exactly what he needs to reignite that competitive fire. Think about it. How many teams out there are sitting on veteran role players they don't really need and would happily swap for a young scorer with potential? Take a team like Brooklyn or Utah, rebuilding or stuck in limbo. They'd absolutely consider moving a Haywood Highsmith-type piece if it meant taking a flyer on a guy like Connect. A player with his shooting ability, size, and athleticism still holds appeal, especially for franchises focused more on long-term upside than immediate playoff pushes. You can't tell me there's no GM out there willing to roll the dice. The biggest gripe with Connect right now is his defense. That's been the case even during his high-scoring stretches last season. The Lakers knew what they were getting when they drafted him. A microwave scorer who could stretch the floor but would be a target on the other end. Teams hunted him relentlessly in the playoffs. Opposing guards would salivate at the idea of getting him on a switch. And that hasn't changed. If anything, it's gotten worse. His summer league performances were concerning. Not because of missed shots, scorers go through slumps, but because he looked completely lost on defense. You want to see some kind of growth, even incremental, but instead, it looked like he regressed. Watch that game against the Spurs. Every possession, they ran switches to isolate Connect, and he got cooked. If teams are doing that in July, what's going to happen in the regular season when the games actually matter? And yet, there's still a reason to believe in what Connect can become. He's got the physical tools to at least be serviceable defensively. No one's asking him to be an all-defensive caliber guy, just to stay in front of his man and not be a liability. The Lakers coaching staff seem to lose faith, and maybe that's fair. But development doesn't happen in a straight line. Sometimes guys need a new environment, new voices, new teammates, a fresh system to tap back into what made them special. It's not hard to imagine Connect landing in a place where he's empowered, used correctly, and valued. And in that setting, if he starts finding his rhythm again, nobody will be surprised. It'll just be another case of the Lakers letting a young talent walk out the door and blossom elsewhere. The mental side of it all can't be overstated either. People love to talk about mental toughness like it's just a switch players can flip. But go ask Lamar Odom what it felt like to be traded by a team he gave his heart to. His career, and honestly his life, took a dark turn after that trade fell through. These are real people with emotions, not just names on a roster sheet. Connect may not have Odom's resume or stature, but the feeling of being unwanted cuts the same way. And unlike stars who could demand trades or pick their destinations, Connect doesn't have that leverage. He's stuck in a tough spot, and you can see the weight of it in how he's playing. So yeah, maybe he's not mentally locked in, but that's understandable. That's human. For those fans still clinging to hope, still commenting, we should be patient, develop Connect. I get it. The idea of giving up on a young talent always stings, especially one who flashed the kind of offensive firepower we saw last year. And in the right situation, sure, he might turn into the guy we all hoped he'd be. But that situation doesn't seem to exist in Los Angeles anymore. The front office already made it clear with the trade that almost went through. They see him as a 10th or 11th man in the rotation, and they're actively exploring ways to upgrade. That kind of message doesn't just hurt, it sticks. And it's hard to bounce back when you know your team already has one foot out the door. All of this paints a picture that's a lot more complicated than just he has negative value. Because what we're seeing isn't a talent problem. It's a situational mismatch. It's a mental block. It's a young player who once felt like a steal, now looking like an afterthought. Not because he suddenly forgot how to shoot, but because the circumstances around him shifted in a way he hasn't recovered from. Give him a new jersey, a new coach, and a clean slate, and you might see that version of Connect reemerge, the one that had teams asking, wait, how did the Lakers get this guy so late in the draft? And here's the thing. Even if a team does ask for a second-round pick to take on Connect, that doesn't mean he's a negative asset. It just means they're trying to leverage the Lakers' desperation. It's posturing. Teams do it all the time. Remember when Danny Ainge was asking for 2 unprotected firsts for Russell Westbrook just to take on expiring deals? Then he turned around and gave up Vanderbilt, Beasley, and Mike Conley for way less than that. The market always overplays its hand before settling into reality. So don't buy into the noise that Connect is some kind of sunk cost. He's not. He's just in limbo. And you can bet, if and when he does get moved, the team that lands him is going to sell it as a win. A young shooter with upside, motivated to prove everyone wrong, hungry for minutes and a bigger role. That kind of profile always gets another shot. The question isn't if he'll bounce back. The question is, where will he be when it happens? What makes the Dalton Connect situation even more frustrating is that his value isn't some mystery. It's not like we've never seen what he can do. There's a reason people were so high on him during his breakout stretch. He was scoring at all 3 levels, moving well without the ball, knocking down spot-up threes, creating his own looks, and even showing flashes of shot-making off the dribble. When a player can light it up the way he did earlier last season, you don't just forget that. It doesn't disappear overnight. But right now, it feels like all of that has been buried under the weight of system fit, coaching decisions, and confidence issues. You look at the preseason, and yeah, it hasn't been good. He's looked flat, hesitant, and disconnected. Summer League was a disaster. There's no way around it. And as much as people like to shrug off Summer League as meaningless, for a player like Connect, that stretch mattered. He needed to show that he could dominate lesser competition, or at least look competent on defense. And that didn't happen. Instead, he got exposed. Switches targeted him constantly, and his lack of defensive awareness was on full display. Offensively, the rhythm wasn't there either. It wasn't just about missed shots. It was the way he looked unsure of himself, not the confident, aggressive scorer we saw when he was at his best. But still, here's the thing. None of this means he's done. None of it means his value has cratered to the point that he's a negative asset. What it really shows is that he's in the middle of a tough adjustment period. Second-year players often hit walls. They get scouted better, they don't get the same freedom they did as rookies, and expectations start to creep in. Combine that with the fact that he plays on a contending team that doesn't have time for development experiments. And you get a guy like Connect stuck in a situation where he can't afford to make mistakes, but also can't play loose enough to find his rhythm again. It's a brutal cycle. And for young guys, especially scorers, confidence is everything. Even when Dalton was struggling with his shot, defenses respected him. That's not nothing. Just having him on the floor created spacing. Opposing teams knew he could catch fire at any moment. He might start the game 0 for 4, but then reel off 4 straight threes in the second half and swing momentum. That gravity matters. It changes how defenses rotate. It opens up lanes for playmakers. And on a team with someone like Luka handling the ball, having a floor spacer who could draw defenders out to the perimeter is valuable, even if he's not hitting every shot. That kind of attention from defenses doesn't go away easily. They remember. Scouts remember. GMs remember. It's also worth pointing out that even if his shooting numbers have taken a dip, the stroke still looks good. The mechanics are clean. The release is quick. The footwork is there. These are things that matter long-term. Shooters go through cold stretches. That doesn't mean they're broken. It just means the confidence needs to return. And again, maybe that confidence isn't going to come back in Los Angeles. Maybe he needs a new team, a different locker room, a fresh opportunity where the pressure isn't so overwhelming and he can just play his game. Because right now, it looks like he's carrying the weight of the world every time he steps on the floor. There's also this misconception that if a player isn't contributing right now, then they must be worthless. That's just not how NBA value works. Teams don't just look at what a player did last week. They look at the arc, the potential, the ceiling. Connect was never drafted to be a lockdown defender or a glue guy. He was brought in because of his scoring, his shooting, his ability to ignite an offense. That hasn't vanished. It's just buried under a pile of mental noise and situational limitations. Another organization with a longer leash and a focus on development could absolutely unlock him again. We've seen it happen 100 times. And when it does, the team that gave up on him first always ends up regretting it. It's also important to remember that value in the NBA isn't just about performance. It's about contracts, age, and fit. Connect is still on a cheap rookie deal. That matters. If you're making 8 figures, then yeah, you could start talking about negative value. But he's not. He's affordable, young, and still has all the physical tools that teams covet: size, shooting ability, and offensive creativity. That kind of profile doesn't go unnoticed around the league. And the idea that he would have to be attached to an asset just to be moved? That sounds more like strategic smoke being pushed by teams hoping to get him for cheap than an honest evaluation of his worth. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, in a move that has sent shockwaves rippling across the basketball world, rumors are swirling that the Los Angeles Lakers have pulled off the unthinkable, acquiring Golden State Warriors superstar Stephen Curry. While official confirmation remains elusive, insiders close to both organizations hint that the deal is not only real but imminent. The news broke late last night, igniting a frenzy on social media and leaving fans scrambling to understand how such a blockbuster could possibly happen. If true, this would mark one of the most seismic player movements in modern NBA history. Curry, synonymous with the Warriors dynasty and widely regarded as the greatest shooter the game has ever seen, has spent his entire career in the Bay Area. The idea of him donning the purple and gold feels almost surreal, like seeing Kobe in Celtics green or Jordan in a Knicks jersey. Yet, according to whispers within league circles, tension has quietly been building between Curry and Golden State's front office in recent months. The franchise's struggle to remain competitive, combined with mounting salary cap pressures, may have opened the door for this stunning turn of events. Sources suggest that LeBron James himself played a pivotal role in the discussions. The two megastars have long shared mutual respect, and more than a few All-Star Weekend smiles hinting at what-if scenarios. A potential LeBron-Curry partnership could redefine offensive basketball, creating a spectacle that merges precision shooting with sheer playmaking brilliance. Lakers GM Rob Pelinka is rumored to have orchestrated the move behind closed doors for weeks, keeping negotiations tightly guarded until all pieces fell into place. Meanwhile, in the Bay, Warriors fans are struggling to process the thought of life without their beloved number 30. Curry is not just a player. He's the heartbeat of the franchise, the man who reshaped the modern game. If the reports prove true, His departure will mark the end of an era and perhaps the beginning of another dynasty in Los Angeles. For now, neither team has issued an official statement, and the NBA office is said to be reviewing the financial details of what could be a historic transaction. But one thing is certain, the league will never be the same. Whether this is a wild rumor or the dawn of a new basketball superpower, everyone is watching, and the world is waiting for confirmation of what might be the most shocking trade in NBA history. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.